Hello and welcome back to Green Money Momentum. I'm your host, Trevor, and we are here for yet another daily talk of stock. And today it is Thursday, June 12th. And overall, the markets did have a pretty decent day. A lot of green in the markets, so a good push forward. A lot of major plays, NVIDIA, Microsoft, Oracle, all in the green, as well as the major indexes. And investor sentiment is pretty high right now. When we visit the fear and greed index, we could see that we are in levels of greed. And talking about sentiment, tomorrow we do have consumer sentiment. So those numbers are going to be released. And when we think about that, that shouldn't shake up the markets too much, no matter what the number comes in at, because if anything were to have shaken up the markets this week, it would have been Wednesday's numbers when it came to inflation. And we could see that inflation numbers came in pretty decent, right around what was expected and even a little bit better. So now when we look forward at the economic calendar, the main event that we have next week is going to be all around the Federal Reserve, the chairman Jerome Powell, and the FOMC interest rate cut decision. And so there is a 97% forecast that the Fed will not cut rates. And so most likely what will happen going into next Wednesday is that, yes, no rate cut will happen. We will stay forward with the push, and the markets will just push forward as well, as this is what is expected. And then when we just look at major news today, we do know that the big beautiful bill has some rescissions. So there was a bit added to that bill. All the rescission being is almost like a revision, something added onto it. And so Trump wrote on Truth Social, he said that the House of Representatives is now voting on the administration's first rescissions bill. It will officially claw back $9.4 billion in funding for wasteful foreign aid used for radical DEI and the new green scam, and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which funds the highly biased NPR and PBS. For decades, Republicans have promised to cut the NPR, but have never done it until now. NPR and PBS are a radical left disaster and 1,000% against the Republican Party. These rescissions, along with the one big beautiful bill, are highly successful tariffs, mass deportations of illegal aliens, and our strong economy will finally cut the deficit and help balance our budget. The rescissions bill is a no-brainer, and every single Republican in Congress should vote yes. Make America great again. And so some more around the big beautiful bill. And overall, this is one of the biggest things we need to look at when it comes to the overall economy, because we do have the big beautiful bill being talked about in the Senate, and now there are these rescissions as well. So Donald Trump wrote that, and then he also did write on Truth Social. He said that the China deal is great. So overall, the president seems to have a very bullish sentiment on the way the economy and the markets are going as well. And so with that being said, we're going to talk about two stocks. One is going to be the president's stock, DJT, Trump Media and Technology Group. And we're also going to visit Tesla. And we know with Tesla, there was recently a big drop-off because of the fight that Elon Musk, and Donald Trump had. So we're going to visit Tesla and see what could be coming forward, because there are some big catalysts for Tesla. But before we get into it, as always, this is not financial advice, and you should always do your own due diligence before making any financial decisions. So first, we're going to look at Tesla here, and we could see that with Tesla, there has been a lot of bleeding through the year of 2025. The highs set with Tesla were at the end of 2024, and ever since then, there has been a bleeding with Tesla. And overall, Tesla is a very polarizing company right now. Some really love Tesla, and many really hate Tesla. We know because of Elon's support with Donald Trump this year that it has caused a lot of chaos. There has been riots at the dealerships. We've seen Teslas burned, and overall, Tesla was beaten up pretty bad in their first quarter of 2025. So we could see that their first quarter, they did have a lower revenue than expected by Wall Street, and it was a drop off from 2024, and they did miss their earnings per share expectations. And so it's going to be interesting to see where their next earnings report will come in with Tesla, and that is going to be next month on July 22nd. And so the reason why I also wanted to talk about Tesla is because I think this is an interesting opportunity with their earnings coming next month, because they are one of the biggest companies that are going to be releasing their earnings next. So finishing through June, there isn't really going to be much when it comes to major earnings. And then the beginning of July, we do have some big companies like American Express and some of the banks, but Tesla, the next really big volatile tech play that is going to have their earnings. And leading up into their earnings, we are also going to have the big robo-taxi launch, which is set to launch on June 22nd. And so many times in the market, things will be priced in, but with this recent retraction in Tesla, I do believe there is an opportunity for investors to catch momentum, possibly momentum from the big robo-taxi event, which is set to launch on June 22nd, and then with their earnings coming up next month. So between those two major catalysts, we could see a big push with Tesla. And let's also be honest here, the markets are in such an insane spot now with the way it just all moves around with news, with the president being able to write different posts on social media, being able to pump the market, and then with the drama between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. We live in such an unpredictable time. And so just between now and the time of Tesla's earnings, there could be a lot. There could be a lot said from Donald Trump or a lot from Elon Musk. And Tesla is one of those plays that is extremely volatile. And so through the 2020s, there has been a lot of shorting on Tesla and a lot of jokes about how those shorts hate their life because of how historically they have been wrong, basically up until this year. And so a lot of opportunity to catch some short-term momentum in Tesla. When we look at the relative strength index and on the MACD, it is also showing that we are closer to oversold. So investors could possibly hop into this opportunity of Tesla. And so let's remember that with the markets, many times things are priced in, but with the big drop off, this could be a potential opportunity. But don't be surprised if there isn't. That is a reason why I didn't necessarily title this video like Tesla will squeeze, because this is really just a speculative opportunity. Although I am bullish over Tesla on the long term, there has been a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So I wouldn't be surprised if this opportunity didn't pop either. But with the big retraction, I do believe there is the opportunity for momentum. So I am bullish, but just proceed with caution. And the way I am playing this, so not with Tesla, but with TSLL, which is the double leveraged index of Tesla. So every percent that Tesla goes up, TSLL goes up 2%. And right after the big blow up that happened last Thursday, I took that as an opportunity to buy into TSLL while it was cheap, around $10. And there has been a $2 pop since that spot. So, I always talk about on this channel how amazing options contracts are. And what I did is I purchased some options contracts right around this spot, right when TSLL was right under $10. I bought some $10 options contracts, so they were slightly out of the money. At that point, they went into the money, and amazingly enough, in a short amount of time, in less than a week, they have returned more than 200%. So I ended up selling 2/3 of those options contracts and exercising the other 1/3. And now I am holding those shares, and I am staying bullish over the long term for Tesla with those shares, expecting a possible momentum pop from the big catalyst coming up of the robo-taxi event. And then I am anticipating their earnings coming up next month. So it will be very interesting to see where their earnings comes in, especially because a lot of the fear, uncertainty, and doubt around Tesla been a very polarizing political company, and just has had a lot of attention. And so with that being said, we're now going to hop into the president's stock, the one that the CEO of Tesla was having problems with. He was having problems with DJT, the president, not the stock, but we're going to be talking about the stock. And so DJT in the recent term also looking a bit oversold. When we look at the relative strength index and on the MACD, we are looking closer to oversold, presenting a possible buy opportunity for investors if they want to add to their bag or invest into DJT for the first time. And so both those indicators are lining up for ourselves looking a bit more oversold. And then when we look at the candlestick chart as well, we do know that the number of right around $21 sits as a major support in DJT, as a major floor for the long-term history of this chart. So we are right underneath that floor, and the three indicators are showing that this is a good opportunity to purchase in to DJT if you can afford it. And it's not just me who thinks this is a good opportunity, but so does the second largest US pension fund. They recently bought up a bunch of D-Wave Quantum and also DJT. So it looks like they're watching my channel, because that's a lot of the stocks that I talk about. Those are two of my favorite stocks, QBTS and DJT. And there's not just that, but overall this company is adding a lot of intrinsic value because they are looking to do a big $2.5 billion investment into Bitcoin. And so with this being said, there has been a bit of a sell-off in DJT recently because of the fear, uncertainty, and doubt around dilution. And so this company is going to offer up to 84 million new shares in the company. But personally, this doesn't freak me out too bad. I don't think that this is a big concern, because when we go over and when we look at the shares outstanding, this would just be adding, what was it, 84 million. So 84 million to the current shares outstanding, which is at 277. So if we add that together, that would just be 361 million shares outstanding. So that still isn't a ton of shares. When we go and we look at other companies, for example, let's look at SoFi. They have a bunch of shares at 1.1 billion. And then when we look at, let's take example, look at Apple, right? They have a total of 14 billion shares outstanding. So with dilution, understandably, there is always the concern, because as an investor, you do not want to see more shares added. But with DJT, there isn't already a bunch of shares out there. So if DJT already had, let's say, 800 million shares or over a billion shares, I would be then concerned about this offering. But right now, there is still a minimal amount of shares. And then also there is this to consider. The bears have heavily shorted DJT up to this point. So DJT does have a short interest of 23%. And as we've talked about with QBTS just last month, D-Wave Quantum, they had a similar short interest. And because of that, the company did have some positive catalysts, and then there was a bit of a squeeze within the stock. So anytime you have a high short interest, there is always the opportunity for more positive price momentum. As the stock soars up, the shorts will have to cover, pushing the stock up even higher. And overall, we are pushing more into the mass adoption into cryptocurrency. And so this is a move that is strategically done by Trump Media and Technology Group. We have the president being the greatest salesman of this plan right here and executing it perfectly. So even since last year, when Trump was going for office, he was talking about the Bitcoin reserve at the White House and the mass push into the mass adoption into cryptocurrency. We have already seen this year, the president did have the White House summit where it was confirmed that there will be the Bitcoin treasury at the White House. And now we have this with Truth Social. And Trump has also released his meme coin, and also the company Trump Media and Technology Group is doing a lot when it comes to cryptocurrency ETFs. So overall, the president very bullish on cryptocurrency. And so overall, DJT adding a lot of value when it comes to their cryptocurrency offerings, going from just being a Truth Social platform, but also a bit of a banking service as well. So that has been a lot of their focus through this year. And overall, while the stock is low, this is where I think it is a great opportunity to add in, especially while others are bearish on this stock, because when the momentum does start with DJT, things can really get crazy. But those are just my opinions. I would be curious to hear what everyone else thinks in the comment section below. So please drop a comment on if you're bullish or bearish on either Tesla or DJT, what your overall opinions are. Please leave a like and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. As always, I thank you all for coming here for my daily talk of stock. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in the next one.